Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 6 of the Kong Roundtable. Today, as always, you're joined by me, Mulder, otherwise known as Faye, and my two clowns, partners.
Ton here once again.
And Crash here, per usual.
More like Clown Fan 1000. Anyways, for context, I first Crash messed up the queue, and then Ton had to go get a pizza. For context.
These things happen sometimes, I don't
Real,
know.
real life production drama. This is a hard job, people.
You don't know
Yeah.
how hard it gets, guys. Come on.
Anyways, today we are joined by two special guests. Our first double guest, unless you count Alex and Eric from Monster vs. Men. We are joined by RF, whose episodes have not come out yet, ironically.
Hello.
And we are also joined by Dan, whose first episode has come out.
Hey, hi.
And today we are discussing King Kong 05, but before we get into that, RF and Dan, what was your guys' first exposure to Kong?
Actually, it was through my grandma, whose her favorite movie was the 33 version.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that I was exposed to while I think she lived at the time only 20 minutes away from us. So I was constantly being babysat by her.
Mm-hmm.
So she just popped in the 33 King Kong. I think I was probably around, it had to be when actually post my exposure to Godzilla, because I think my sister was born at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it was the first movie, and I remember that she said that it was one of her favorite movies alongside The Wizard of Oz.
Huh, cool.
And then I think, and this is so awful, like I don't know what happened to her copy of the 33 version, but after that, the only version we had available to us was the 70s version.
Oh no.
So for a while, that was like the only version we really had, and I was like, I'm just gonna go watch Godzilla. And then for the exposure to 05 Kong, actually it was in a theater. God, I forget. This might have been when God, I forget what the theater was, but it was like this actually really nice theater. I was kind of surprised my parents were taking us to it. I don't even remember what for. I think it was like one of the Harry Potters or something, and there was a cardboard cutout of the scene where Kong is having the standoff with the V-Rex.
Oh yeah, you told me the story.
And yeah, there wasn't even like a trailer out at the time for like I think another month.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember being really hyped because at the time I had just been exposed to the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah.
A couple years prior, I'd actually been watching them, and then like I was really excited because Peter Jackson was involved with this as well. So it was kind of like two things that I actually love combined together.
Yeah.
And I just remember really liking the movie as a kid.
All right, cool. Dan?
Well, I actually only watched the 33 one like a couple of years ago, but my first experience with King Kong, other than cultural osmosis, was probably there was this American themed restaurant in a town near mine, and we went to it, and it had a big King Kong on on the Empire State Building on this mural with all these iconic film stars on, and that was the first time I think it ever registered to me what King Kong was. So,
Cool.
and then I don't remember who took me to see this. I think it was my uncle. He used to take me to see films, and this film fucking blew my little mind. I was obsessed. So I remember seeing this film for the first time, I think, because I was staying at my nan's afterwards and I had nightmares, even though I really loved it. So, yeah, my first proper experience with Kong, I would say, is this film.
Oh, that's
King.
cool.
I can't say that I would like place any other version of the character as influential to me as this one. Even the Skull Island version, I prefer
Mhm.
05. So yeah, it's this film through and through. It was my first introduction to giant monsters, kind of. Well, other than Godzilla '98, and my first introduction to Kong proper. So yeah, 05.
Cool.
Mhm.
All right, well, that's a good lead-in to the rating. So, Crash, do you want to start us off with what you'd give Kong a 5 out of 10?
Oh, yeah, I'd probably give Kong a 5. Probably like a 9 out of 10 at least. It's very good. Like, probably one of the best Kong movies we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, I mean, that's not saying a lot, I guess. There's like 6, 8 movies. A lot of them we're like, oh, all right. But like, this
Mhm.
one really stood out a lot. And you can tell it's a really passion-filled movie by Peter Jackson.
Mhm.
But
So,
yeah.
oh, Ton.
Yeah, solid 9 out of 10. Peter Jackson always masterful director. Love his work, and he brings it here. There's stuff we'll discuss, but I like this one. This one a lot. It holds a special place for me.
Dan.
Yeah, I'd probably say out of 10, I would give it an 8.
Oh, cool.
Like, even though I love it and I hold a lot of nostalgia for it, I think when I watched it last year and when I watched it just today, there are problems that hold it back a little bit, even though
Mhm.
it holds such a personal like weight to it. I still think it's a fantastic film. I just think some things aren't that great.
Yeah. RF.
Honestly, I'm probably gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10. It's still like one of my favorite monster movies, but I think
Mhm.
yeah, there are a few flaws that need to be addressed. Um, the ones we'll be talking, I know you guys will be talking about, but also I felt like and this is like not to say that the people who say that this movie is too long are valid, but I do think that some scenes kind of drag a tiny bit. More the action sequences, not even the build up. I think the
Okay.
build up to Skull Island is perfect.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I'll give it 9 out of 10 as well. It's one of my favorite monster movies. But of course, we have the typical RF scores here. So,
This one's higher than I predicted, so I'm not gonna knock our.
What did you predict? I'd put it at a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, that's what. That's what
because RF is like, I love this movie, amazing, one of my favorites, 5 out of 10. Anyways, so as we were kind of saying, this movie was directed by Peter Jackson, who is most well known for the Lord of the Rings film. This was his film he did right after Lord of the Rings because he actually supposed to be working on this in the '90s, but he didn't have the clout to get the budget he wanted for this. But after Lord of the Rings, of course, Universal was like, "Okay, we'll give you everything you want." So, what did you guys think of how Peter Jackson did this?
It's interesting looking at what his original concept was and how he basically transformed it into almost a faithful reboot of the original, like almost like bit for bit, except that he took pieces of dialogue and took parts of the original and literally just made them part of Carl Denham's production.
Mm-hmm. Whoever wants to go next
Oh,
can go.
yeah, and I mentioned this before, but like you can really tell Peter Jackson like a big love for the original one. This movie has a lot of heart, and he makes a lot of like really nice small references to it, and really adapts in a really nice way. And obviously using like his talent, like we've seen like Lord of the Rings, he gives like this movie a big sweeping feel to it. It makes it feel like really truly epic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing with Peter Jackson is he kind of has this eye for almost like kind of a classical epic feel with his works, and it's very evident in Lord of the Rings. But here in King Kong, he also brings that energy, but he brings it in a different way. Almost feels like kind of a tribute to definitely Kong 33, but also just those classic adventure movies that you don't really see too much nowadays.
Yeah. Dan.
As somebody who has, this is the only Peter Jackson film I've seen properly. Crucify Me.
Wow, not even
I still haven't
Lord of the
seen
Rings?
I've seen the Hobbit films in passing. I've only watched half of the first Lord of the Rings film. I just
Wow.
can't. They're so long. I just need to set aside the time. I struggle with long films.
Mhm.
I think you can tell there is a lot of passion and love in this. I say more so than almost any like big like action blockbuster that isn't a Del Toro film. You can tell that Jackson really did everything he could. Like you read behind the scenes stuff, he made this his baby, and I'm glad he got the clout and he was able to make it and not have his like vision compromised and you know
Mhm.
basically reboot the original and then mean that when I did eventually watch the original, I was bored out of my mind and didn't enjoy it as much as I probably should have. But yeah, I think it just shows how incredible a filmmaker he is. He is obviously extremely talented and good at what he
Mhm.
does.
Yeah, for me, with Peter Jackson in this one, I think it's interesting to me just how different his style is in this compared to Lord of the Rings. Because while there is like some similarities, he's almost like you couldn't tell it was Peter Jackson at first until you know it's him. And then you can see like little things like of course the Weta type CGI and such. But beyond that, I feel like this is such a unique film from him. Though I do have to say though, I feel like his fantasy background can be seen a lot in how he chooses to like approach Skull Island, which feels a
Mhm.
lot more fantasy to me than like Lost World, at least to me.
Mhm.
Yeah, no,
I
it
can
does
see
have.
that.
Mhm.
Yeah, it does have a very supernatural feel to it, especially with like the way like the compass just stops working as soon as they
Yeah,
get close to the island and stuff.
yeah. Or even like they're almost like destined to end up at Skull Island to a degree.
Hmm.
But yeah, so we can either talk about the humans first or the monsters. What would you guys like to get into first?
We can save the monsters for later, I guess. We get to the humans.
All right,
I think the
sure.
humans are the heart of this. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Mhm.
for sure.
All right. Well, to start off with, I think a good place to start with, of course. Well, actually, you know what? Because I'm going to continue our trend we've been doing with the Kong Roundtable. So before we get into the characters, I think we should address the elephant in the room, and
Oh.
that's how badly Kong 05 does its native.
Oh,
It's our favorite topic.
God.
Ton, do you want to do the honors that we've been giving you of explaining?
Sure, sure. So, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm shaking right now. No. So, in the troubled legacy of Skull Islander portrayals, we've had original King Kong with black actors and slightly in pretty stereotypical African aesthetic. We had the full-on Shaka Zulu Skull Islanders in
Yeah.
1975. And then in the Japanese films, you had Japanese people in brownface. But it, who would have thought in 2005 we would reach the pinnacle of Kong racism? This is like a category 5 on the Kong racism chart.
Gosh.
He really wanted to
Um,
out 233, son. He succeeded.
yeah. The trouble here with the Skull Islanders here is like where the past Skull Islanders are caricatures of native people. These Skull Islanders are Lotor orcs in human skin.
Yeah.
They're brown face, skin paint. Like I honestly, it's pretty obviously none of these actors are like dark skinned people. Um, they're very savage and just have no culture whatsoever. They just show up, they kill people, and even unlike Kong 33, these Skull Islanders get shot and killed by the film, by the crew of the Venture, and it's treated as like heroic. It's just very not good, and I'm really not sure what led to the process of settling on these Skull Islanders.
Yeah, I feel like the way the film handles the Skull Island is where they're basically monsters, which is why not just remove them? But go on, Dan.
I with the Skull Islanders, like this is like they were so horrific to me. I said I had nightmares when I saw this film. I was
Okay, the
terrified.
funniest thing is that seems to be like a unanimous opinion among all of
Yeah.
us how scary they are. Because
It
Crash,
fucking,
you mentioned it too.
Yeah, they're
as a kid,
they're
they
fucking
horrified me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're
But
good.
yeah,
Mhm.
sorry, Crash. Go on. I keep
Oh
on
no no.
interrupting.
Oh no, you're good. No, you're fine. Yes, because I agree. Like I know as a kid, they terrified me. A lot of aspects of this movie scared me as a kid a lot. But yeah, like here, they're not even people. Like, like even in the most racist fucking Kong movies, at least they like kind of have a culture. Like you're saying, at least they
Mhm.
kind of function as people and like they talk. Here they don't even communicate. They just instantly like murder them and are just evil savage beings that get shot at and then never return. Like that's it. They just show up, they kill some of the people, and then they're gone. And it's I don't know why this is the take they wanted to go with the natives. I don't know.
Mhm.
Like in no Kong movie have the natives ever killed anybody. I
Yeah.
don't think like that's such a weird turnaround for them. It's just so suspect. I don't know why he did that here.
I
Yeah.
used to skip
I don't
past
really get it.
natives as a kid. I used to like start on the DVD straight
Next
after
scene.
Anne had been taken because one, I found the whole venture boat journey at the beginning boring, which I was so fucking wrong as a kid. But two, because I was so scared, and it's really weird. Like as a kid, I never made that connection to how racist it was. Obviously, because I was a child, and like my
Mhm.
stepdad is black, and I never made like the connection between that at all. But I remember one time I was watching it, and I didn't skip past that scene. He came in, and he sort of just sighed and then walked off. I'm trying to think like I'm like thinking back now. I'm like, oh, now I know why he fucking sighed because this is so racist.
Yeah.
RF, do you want to go ahead? Because I know you said you had a lot of thoughts on this one when we were watching.
I honestly like it's something that like is incredibly uncomfortable, and yeah, at the time as a kid I did not really understand what was going on with this, and
Mhm.
it's kind of like disturbing how much they've just dehumanized them. And I
Yeah.
get that, like, and I feel like I'm still trying to figure out what the hell Peter Jackson's thought process was that led him to make this decision. And I feel like what it probably was the root, like the horror movie Jackson roots coming in. Maybe he didn't intentionally want to make them racist, but like he wanted to make them scary. And
I feel like
unfortunately,
I well
making
oh, gone.
making things scary a lot of times dehumanizes them.
Yeah. See, like what I was gonna say was I feel like Jackson knew the original stuff was racist, so he figured he'd go in a different direction. But I feel like in doing the way he did, where you're just making them inhuman beings, that's even more racist. Like that's not less racist. You went even more racist. It didn't fix anything. I also feel like this movie has the issue that Kong 76 had of where like they tried to incorporate non-white members of the crew more. Like they bring back Charlie, even though he doesn't really do
I was
much.
gonna say that's really fun. I love the fact that Charlie's been like the recurring character for some reason. They keep bringing him
I
back.
know.
I love it.
And then they also have oh shoot, what's his name? Let me find his name because there is the
Is it Hayes?
yeah,
The
yeah,
captain? I
Hayes.
really like
Because
him as a character.
yeah, he's a good character. And they also have a Maori crew member who I noticed shows up a decent amount, even if he's not fleshed out at all. And I feel like the issue is I think their mindset was, oh, okay, if we do this, we can fix the racism, but it really doesn't fix the racism at all.
So weird because the rest, like the film itself, it doesn't feel. I don't know. This is just speaking from my personal perspective. I'm white, just in case anybody's listening doesn't know. I'm so white, It doesn't feel to me like there is like it feels more to me like a critique of the colonizing themes of the original. But
Mhm.
then you throw this in the middle of the fucking film, and it just completely undermines that message. And it just
Yeah.
feels it just feels so out of place. I like how, like, here's the thing, like when I was watching it earlier, I was like, I like how this is filmed because it's filmed really well. You can tell that Peter Jackson is a horror director at his heart, even though he hasn't
Yeah.
done horror for
In a while.
decades now. Yeah, exactly. Like he's more of a fantasy director than horror. But it's well shot. I understand what he's going for, but you've gone so far to try and not be racist that like as you guys said, like, you know, you've gone straight back into like so hard racism that you've actually gone like probably I haven't seen 33 in a while, but this is more racist than the original.
I'd consider this way more racist than 33.
Yeah. It just feels like it's just such a strange decision, and it's
Especially considering the times, because this would be racist in 1973. Now in 2005, when you should know better.
It's just so funny to me that if you like comparison to like a lot of the racism in the Kong series, Kong 33 is actually pretty high up in terms of non-racism, which is really funny in comparison to a lot of the other shit we've gotten, which tells you how bad it's gotten. Surprisingly.
And like the other thing also with the natives too, I just don't get why you couldn't have replaced them. I don't think they were that essential to the story because they don't show up again after they kidnap Anne. So like they're not involved at the end at all.
Yeah.
Again, so it's like why couldn't they just got on the island? Kong was there. Kong kidnaps Anne, and they have to go rescue her. There was no real need for the natives there beyond having too much like allegiance to the original and like being like too attached to it to not change any element of it. When I don't think anybody is really like, no natives in my Kong movie, 0 out of 10. Like you can drop that element now, people. You don't need that in there anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder how Godzilla vs. Kong is going to tackle the natives now, because if Skull Island's been colonized, well, from what I gather, how
Yeah,
is that going to work out?
I'm curious how they'll do that. Well, I know one of the characters is a native, the little girl with Kong, so at least finally they're a character.
Yes, exactly. Like, I was about to start talking about Skull Island. That's not what we're here to talk about. Sorry.
Save it because Crash hasn't seen Skull Island, so no spoilers for that.
Yeah, I'll keep my mouth shut.
But yeah, does anyone else have anything they want to say about the natives before we move on?
Honestly, I have the same thoughts as Dan, which is there is like a kind of a bit of an anti-colonization like message in it, but it completely undermines it by having the natives basically be Lord of the Rings orcs.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now that we got that out of the way, we can discuss everything else character-wise. Starting off with Naomi Watts and Darrow. First of all, thank fuck this movie uses the names from Kong 33 and not Kong 76's Dwan, Fred. Like, fuck out of here. Finally, the characters have to have their names back. I have to say, Naomi Watts does such a good job as Anne.
Oh, I think she's fantastic. It's kind of funny how she's kind of the complete reverse of like Anne Darrow in the original.
Oh, definitely.
She has so much agency here and character and prominence and like growth and like connection with Kong here. She does such a great job as Anne. It's portrayal and it's the way that she's like written here as well. It's a big improvement from it. So
Yeah, this is
she's
like the
such a
first time. Oh, go on, Crash.
no, sorry, you keep talking. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I feel like this is the first time where like Anne's relationship with Kong, where when films have tried it before, I don't think have succeeded. Mainly Kong 76. Like this one to me feels genuine because they actually give Anne time to actually see that softer side of Kong and interact with him beyond just like him kidnapping her, which is really nice. Finally.
Also, I connected to Anne. I want to talk about the 1933 sequences
Oh,
like
sure, go
where
ahead.
they show like the Great Depression and how it
Mhm.
affects Andero's life and how she can't really pursue her dreams.
Yeah,
I thought it was such a great touch. Like I was super invested in Anne's character by the
same.
time we went over to the other characters.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I feel like they do a better job of fleshing her out here because in 33, as Crash and Tone can attest to, since we just watched it like last month, Anne just shows up stealing an apple, and Carl Denham's like, "All right, kid, you're coming with me. You're my actress now," and she's like, "Okay." Like she's kind of more dragged into it. While Anne here, like Crash was saying, has way more agency. But yeah,
She's the she's
go
the
ahead, Dan.
first person. Sorry, she's the main character. She's the person.
Yeah.
Like obviously we get I'd say that it's four main characters. It's Carl Denham, Jack,
Mhm.
and Kong, and then Anne. But I think Anne is the one who gets the most. And like I adore her. She's fantastic. And
Mhm.
like if this I would have loved to have seen like more. Like this is one of those films, like I don't really like long films, but I think this film could have been longer because I everything, like her agency is really good, her like motivations are all well, she's acted fantastically. But the one thing that is a negative about her, and one of my big problems with the film, is her relationship with Jack. Even though I think it's believable and I think it's passable and it works.
Mhm.
I think it just happens like overnight. Like they're on the boat. I always remember
Mhm.
the boat sequence being so much longer than it actually is. And
Same for some reason.
yeah, even though
Same.
it's actually now my favorite part of the film, it wasn't as a kid. It's now my favorite part.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I feel like the one problem with that is that Anne really doesn't get time to they have like the cutesy like, oh, Jack's got his top off and he's looking great, he's looking fantastic, like show me more of that. But like we don't get enough conversation between them both and enough like
Yeah.
tension, and it does feel a bit forced. But I also understand that the film's already three hours long. You probably can't risk putting too much more in there, and there's
Mhm.
so many characters we need to bump back and forth between all them. But
Yeah.
yeah, I love Anne. She's fantastic, brilliant acting as well, and she's great in the video game as well, which is surprising.
God, I
See the
spent
funny.
too many hours
Mhm.
in that video game.
See the funniest thing to me with the Anne and Jack romance, I actually think of the three that we've had so far, of those two specifically, I feel like this one's the best one, which is saying
Mhm.
something. Because I agree, and it's one of the weaker elements of the film, but it's actually done a lot more charming and fleshed out than the ones in 33 or 76, which is very funny. But yeah, I'm a ton.
Yeah, and this is probably my favorite incarnation of Anne thus far. Like you guys will say, she has great agency. Naomi Watts is a great actress. She really brings a lot out of Anne here. I really like how um she goes about the role very differently from Frey Way does,
Hmm.
where Anne in the 33 is kind of very passive after a certain point. Where I
Hmm.
feel like at least in the boat scene, she had a lot of spunk in 33. She kind of becomes very passive as the movie goes on. Anne
Yeah.
always stays like very active as a character. I
Hmm.
love how even on the island after she gets kidnapped, she does a lot of things to try and like survive. And
Hmm.
Mhm.
her bond with Kong feels, like you said, it feels more authentic here.
Yeah.
You kind of understand why she comes to care about Kong compared to, say, Dwan and King Kong 76. It's
Yeah.
just a lot better fleshed out. And I love how her active role in the finale, where she's
Yeah.
like, you, you, she feels less kidnapped and more like she wants to escape with Kong and see him like escaping to nature, which adds to the kind of like the tragedy.
Hmm.
Mhm.
That scene of her and Kong in the snow is a very nice scene. I think it's one of the best
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
scenes
same.
in modern Giant Monster stuff. Which, though, that leads us to our next character, which is Carl Denham, played by Jack Black, who you would not expect to be as good in this as he is.
Oh, I remember like being like, wait, the guy from Schoolhouse Rock?
Yeah,
And apparently that's how they got him, was apparently like they just
Really?
had Schoolhouse Rock and they were just like, oh well, we don't have a Carl Denham, well screw it, we'll just get Jack Black.
It's really funny actually. Because Jack Black's a great actor. I love him. And he does a lot of comedy, but like he really sells the role here. He does a
Yeah.
great job at it. I would absolutely say.
See, the funny thing is, this Carl Denham to me is a lot more sinister as a character than the 33 one. Like he's
Yeah.
not as much of a dick as his equivalent in 76, with aka Fred, but he's a lot more sinister to me here than he is in 33,
No,
especially Son.
absolutely.
Which, speaking of Son, they integrate a lot of that Son of Kong stuff into Carl's Denham story here, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of nice element to that, like that kind of like merge the two in a way. It's interesting. But yeah,
Mhm.
here like Carl's much more like dedicated to getting his film done. Like he's not like, it's not like he's like, oh, like he doesn't give a shit that anybody died, but he's more like trying to use that as like motivation to get people to keep going sometimes.
Yeah.
It's really like you see him kind of descend into like madness in a way,
Yeah.
just to get the movie done or to get some kind of like fame or money off of it.
Yeah. Which is culminates with him kidnapping Kong,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
shown here as a very evil action,
Mhm.
to say the least.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because like he kind of like, you can say you're right by saying that like King Kong is the center of this movie, but at the same time Carl Denham is sort of like the instigator for a lot of things that
Yeah.
happen in this movie. It's like all of the characters, even King Kong gets caught up in fucking Carl Denham's storm.
Yeah,
that-
like I mean,
That's true. He did
not to
kidnap
mention,
Jack.
yeah. What was I about to say? He fucking kidnapped Jack,
He did.
which is
I love
wild
that
to
scene.
me.
Jack didn't jump off. He could have if he wanted to.
And it only gets worse from there because he's very passive about people dying. Like I don't think he doesn't care, but he's very willing to look past it for the sake of his movie, which
Yeah.
is shown to be fucked. Like I love the bit where he keeps filming even though people are dying, and people are like, "What the fuck, Carl?"
You got that on film. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite lines in the film, and it's
Yeah.
in the it's in the extended cut.
Yeah, but yeah,
Would it be a snuff
Da-
film if he
oh,
actually released that? Where like
yes,
people actually die.
yes, but yeah,
Jeez, Carl.
Dan or Ton, whoever wants to go next on Carl.
You go first. Sorry.
Oh, okay, sure thing. Yeah, I love Carl in this. It's interesting. This is probably the biggest thing that's different from 33. Where in 33, like face it, Carl's almost like he does do some like bad stuff, but overall he's treated in the narrative as one of the heroes. He's a very like charismatic guy. The hit everything with his venture to Skull Island is legitimate, and he's kind of like one of the square-jawed heroes alongside Jack. But in this movie, Carl is a completely different person. He's manipulative. He's a liar. He's shifty. He just does whatever he can to try and like get his way,
Yeah,
and uh, doesn't really try to deal with the repercussions of it beyond like clearly he has like a heart somewhere deep down, but it's kind of buried beneath his greed.
yeah,
Yeah.
He's almost like it's also very kind of like my dad's character, the king
mhm,
who everything he touches turns to gold. Um, it, and he also has like kind of like a Captain Ahab feel to
yeah.
him. He has like this obsessive need to
Well,
just.
Ton, do you want to know who he reminds me of? And this just hit
Mhm.
me now because I think the reason why Peter Jackson, like, it's not subtle, but he inserts that bit where Jimmy and Taze talk about fuck, what's that book called? The Apocalypse Now inspiration book. In the Heart of Darkness.
Oh,
That's what it's
yeah,
called.
Yep.
Denham is very much meant to be that in the Heart of Darkness type character, where he gets
Yeah,
more and more insane as they get more and more into the jungle of Skull Island.
Definitely. And Jack Black just does such a good job in the role.
Yeah, that's really the most impressive thing to me is how good he is as a dramatic actor. But go on.
Yeah, like he does a lot of comedy and stuff, and he has a lot of range. But I'm surprised like he doesn't really Carl doesn't really have that many comedic moments besides like kind of like goofy stuff, antics, but that's more. It still ties into the plot with like kind of playing into Carl's greed and his manipulative.
Yeah.
It's like he's just someone who's been kind of like typecast for a lot of comedy, but like he even good script, he can really do it well and good direction.
Yeah.
'cause he really sells the character here a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people will be like, Jack Black, what? That's what? He's not fit, but it's like if you see him do it, like he does such a great job.
Yeah.
It's actually quite funny. This is my first. When I was a kid, this was the first time I think that I ever saw Jack Black in anything.
Nice.
So like I've always thought he's been a great actor just because that was my first experience as him playing basically an Orson Welles lookalike.
Yeah.
I think he's fantastic. Like the thing is, like even though you know he's a bad guy, throughout the entire film you're rooting for him. You want him to succeed.
He brings that charisma to the character.
Yeah, exactly. And he's entertaining. He's funny. He's also got like obviously the sinister streak, and he's driven. And he's just like he's a really good like he's just fantastic. And one thing that I always wonder when it comes to this film is like, what are the consequences of this after this film ends? Like, what happens?
To see him get sued up the ass.
Exactly. Like, I want to see. Yeah, it can be called Sued of Kong or something. I don't know. It's just because it's a quick dive around in regards to that. Is also Jack assaults like army people at the end, so he's in trouble as well. So like, I was thinking like, what happens after this film? Because Carl is he's finished, and it just sort of like it's him fighting to be like known as like an artist to have his name up in lights, and he got that, but he's Icarus.
But at what cost?
Yeah. He's great. He's great. The whole his whole success and failure is central to this film. I think, like you all said, it's like people get swept up in it, including Kong. It's fantastic.
And I guess that brings us to the final main character of the human side, which is Adrian Brody as Jack Driscoll. I want to say, where the fuck did Adrian Brody go? That man just vanished off the face of the earth after the 2000. He used to be everywhere.
The last movie I saw him in was Predators, and then after that, like
exactly, he's been gone for so long. It's like, where did you go? It hit 2010, and that man vanished.
Yeah. Well,
but yeah, what did you guys think of Jack in this? So, I think I'll go first. I have thoughts on Jack in this. He's such a different character here, but unlike in '76, where it's like weird how different he is, I feel like they do a good job of dividing Jack's stuff between Jack, the name character, and then you have Bruce Baxter. But I'll get into Bruce in a second. So I think they do a good job dividing it and making Jack a much more likable character here than he is in 33.
I would agree. Like Jack here is practically completely different. Like you said, they pretty much split him up into two. Yeah, Bruce kind of taking the more fuckboy aspects of Jack as a character.
Yeah.
I completely forgot that those comments about women were in the original until I heard that, and then I was like, "Oh, right, this is the original dialogue."
Yeah, I thought that was a really funny scene. How the movie they're like just straight up using the Kong 33 dialogue. That's really funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jack here, he's like a screenwriter now. I think for plays, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and just right off the bat, his dynamic with Anne is a lot more justifiable and natural. At least they actually have chemistry here. It's not just Jack being like, "I hate women. You're not a woman." Like nothing like whacking like that.
Yeah,
he's more. He's just like an actual character you can like sympathize with and like at least because he gets swept up on this journey. He wasn't even trying to be a part of it in the first place.
He gets fucking kidnapped by that girl.
Kidnapped and has to sleep in the cage with a chloroform. He's struggling here, but yeah, I love this interpretation of him. It's a much more It's like the protagonist you can actually like root for a lot more. Like as a
Plus, I
character.
feel like him being out of his element makes him being a badass in the jungle a lot more fun and interesting. Seeing him have to like no longer be that kind of like posh, bougie writer and having to actually fight. I think
Yeah.
that's a fun element to his arc here.
Can we talk about the really weird sequence near the end of the movie where he basically wrote a script and like he badmouths himself and he realizes how bad of a person he was from something that he wrote. Like
RF,
after he
RF,
wrote this.
we're both writers here. That is the most relatable thing ever.
I know, but still, I just like it because it's just this moment of like, wait, did I just project parts of my life into my work?
The funniest thing is RF. That moment to me is so Sam Raimi Spider-Man. But it's so funny. That moment in particular feels like it could have came out of like Spider-Man 2. I love
It
it.
really does, or actually even like Spider-Man 3,
Yeah,
any of the ones where Mary Jane is in the theater, like
yeah.
it was very much like that.
But yeah, go on, RF.
Um, I think as you noted, it's interesting that he's very much this out of element character that's sort of I don't want to it's kind of weird because I want to say that he sort of becomes the quote unquote badass
Mm-hmm.
throughout the story, but he kind of starts at it like sort of well not
Mm-hmm.
really like the first encounter with doesn't go so well, but like after that
Yeah.
he's basically dodging dinosaurs and stuff like that.
But yeah, Dan or Tony who wants to go next on Jack.
Yeah, yes, I'll go. I really like Jack here. The reinterpretation here really works. They did a nice job splitting up his elements, and I like how he's more of an in-depth character here. 33 Jack certainly is kind of not bad, but he doesn't have a lot going for him besides
Yeah.
just kind of a tough guy. So I can see why Peter Jackson really kind of wanted to make someone a little more in-depth. And I feel like it really works here. He's very like introspective, has a lot of like really nice bits of character building, and a fun setup. Like just the idea of a script writer getting drawn in on this wacky adventure and ending up becoming a huge badass. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's very pulpy in a unique kind of way.
Yeah,
Dan.
I like that about him. He's it's very because I'm terrible at metaphors. It's very Gordon Freeman. Just the dude just woke up. He
Freeman.
woke up that day and he said, "I just want to write this script and go to the theater." And then he finds himself like at one point he's jumping off a cliff holding onto a giant bat. It's he. I really like Adrian Brody. I agree with you, Faye. Like, where did he go? Bring him back. I miss him. He's fantastic. In
I know,
everything
right?
he's in. And like, I once again, you know, as a kid, very influential this film to little Dan. He wanted to be Jack. He was like, oh, he's soft, but he's like, you know, hardy and cool. And that was what I wanted to be. Obviously, I'm not, but I think he's like really quite a good character.
Mhm.
My one complaint obviously is with the Anne relationship, and I wish we got a little bit more of him.
Yeah.
I just like I don't know how much more there is in the extended cut because I haven't got it.
That's what I'm wondering because all of us, Dan, we watched the extended cut, and I wonder if maybe there's extra stuff there, like how Spider-Man 2 has more Mary Jane affixes, like
2.1.
Yeah, because I've only got the I've only got the '05 DVD, and I'm not going to go digging around online for that for the extended cut. But yeah, I thought he was great. He's like a really fun character, and like you really like relate to him because like
Mhm.
a part of me is like he's just really wants to get this girl back that he has like feelings for. And when you first fall for someone, let's admit, like we all do crazy shit. I've done stupid
Yeah.
stuff to somebody when you just get with them, so it
my
is
girlfriend.
believable. I mean, if Emily got kidnapped by a giant ape, I think I'd when I first met her, I would have probably gone onto an gone searching an island and got
Skull Island.
I
Yeah.
literally chased down a bus for Jackie, so
but honestly, now if Emily got kidnapped, you know, I've been with her for 2 years, I probably wouldn't bother.
I mean, I probably still would.
You're better than me. But yeah, I really like Jack, and I do like the way he the contrast of him being this sort of soft, sort of real, relatable
Yeah.
character, and then occasionally one-handed shooting with a submachine gun, like beating up cockroaches. He's really like quite a fun
see to bring in the O5 video game, it makes the video game making this massive badass really funny.
Yeah. And even in the video game, he's like, I think he's more muted in the video game because, like, I feel like he doesn't. He's like a gradual like build up to all these huge events. In the film, it's like it's theme park ride event after theme park ride event. And
Yeah.
he's what I find quite funny is at the end when he gets in that cab when Kong's there and he goes to the driver of the cab. He goes, "Come on, we got to lure him away." And then the cab driver gets out. I'm like, did you really think, Jack, that the cab driver was going to drive away while this monkey chased you? Like, come on, like, dude.
Not off the clock. He's got to keep going.
Jack saw King Kong, got back into that Skull Island mentality, and literally just thought that everybody else was a member of the ship again, and was basically just like, okay, we got to figure this out.
Yeah, I love Jack, and I think like Jack is the perfect representation of the way this film balances between realism and relatability and being a complete fantasy blockbuster film, because he has heart, he's real, he feels relatable, but obviously he also is like a strange action hero as well. So yeah, I love Jack. He's great.
But yeah, so because there's so many characters, I'm going to divide it into two camps, and you just talk about whoever you want in that. First camp is going to be Denham's people, like everyone who Denham has, which I'm going to talk about Bruce Baxter, played by Kyle Chandler, who was in King of the Monsters as Mark Russell, and he's fucking phenomenal in this movie. He's so funny. Bruce Baxter is amazing. He's such a douchebag, but and he's so funny because of that.
Yeah.
I'm also pretty sure that Kyle Chandler is one of the few people to be in both a Kong movie and a Godzilla movie.
He is.
Alongside only like anyone from King Kong Escapes was part of that Toho group. But yeah, so I wanted to bring up the fact that Bruce Baxter is fucking phenomenal. And also I wanted to say go on, Crash.
I was gonna say, yeah, like you said, we mentioned this before, but they put a lot of the fuckboy aspects of 33 Jack onto Bruce, which was a nice way of kind of still having that character around, but not trying to make him like your main character you're supposed to like love and root for. Instead of putting on like just some asshole who's like full of himself just for the movie.
Yeah. And the other person who go on, Crash.
Oh, sorry.
Again.
But there's one funny scene I love with he gets back to his room and put all these posters up, and when they get all vandalized, and he gets back, he's like, "What?" But he's like, "No, wait a minute, that mustache actually looks kind of good." He's like, "Let me see if I can rock that."
It's so funny.
Mustache thing in the mirror.
Was that in the extended cut? I feel like that was like an extended cut only thing.
I feel like that was in the original. I remember
it's in the original.
Okay, yeah, but
yeah,
I love this
really that's one of my favorite scenes. I think it's a really good little bit of characterization for him.
Like he's still like full of himself
on.
there. He's just like, it's like first he's like, "What?" And he's like, "You know what? Actually, I kind of like that."
see, because now I have an opening to fangirl over King of the Monsters. Kyle Chandler does such a good job of being both dramatic and serious when he has to, and really funny and comedic. Like like those two characters are such different ends of the spectrum. It's really funny to me. Also, I wanted to say, something else which I really love with Bruce Baxter is he's actually a little bit complex. Like at first he's a coward and he runs away, but he's the one who saves everybody from the insect pit.
Yeah, at the end, yeah. That's true. He comes back after like I don't know if that was that supposed to be like his plan, or was he just trying to like look good. Because when he first leaves, he's like, okay, like I'm out of here, like fuck this. But then he comes back.
From what it sounds like, he changed his mind and he decided to go back for everybody, and that's why we got.
Yeah, that's good.
But what I also find funny though is how he's the first person to book it when Kong starts breaking out. Like he books it early,
Mhm.
He was.
and then
He knew it was not happening.
and the other character I want to bring up from Carl's crew was that poor guy who Anne saw was Jack at first, and he's like, "Wait, me? You know me because he's just a fucking sound guy."
Damn. Is
And
the guy
then
gets
he
fucking murdered
shot.
by the?
Yeah, he gets shot with the Harlan arrow.
Damn.
Poor guy, he can't win.
I'm him.
Yeah, I think part of this movie's charm is just how so much of the side cast is really fleshed out. It has like little mini arcs, and not a lot of movies can kind of balance such a big cast. But Peter Jackson is coming off of LOTOR, which has a massive, massive cast. He really makes it work well here. Just kind of making you care about all the individual side characters.
Yeah. But yeah, does anybody have anybody else they want to talk about from Denham's side of the crew?
God,
yeah,
what's
that
his
counts
name?
like the ship crew, right?
Oh no! They're coming next.
His
The film
assistant.
people. Oh yeah, Preston's a really interesting character.
Oh,
Doesn't
I
it-
love
yeah.
Preston. I love.
Okay. Fun fact I found out after. Preston is played by Tom Hanks' son.
What?
Really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
Colin
I didn't know
Hanks.
that.
That was so funny to me. I also had no idea that he was in Band of Brothers.
I didn't know that either. That's actually
And
pretty
he's
crazy.
he's also in the Jumanji reboot for like 5 minutes.
Oh wait, is he the one dude who's just like Welcome to Jumanji, or is he like what was he in the Jumanji reboot?
He was the from what I remember, I've only seen the film once. He was the guy who, after he got out of Jumanji at the end,
Oh,
that was him.
him.
And he also played Woody in the Toy Story 3 video game. So take that to the bank. That little
I
bit
know,
of
like
trivia.
every time, like Tom Hanks characters are never voiced by Tom Hanks in any like
Yeah,
external media choice.
it's always
like,
voiced by his brother. Yeah.
But by this time, obviously he was voiced by his son. So progress. But yeah, Preston's a really good character. Like I really like his arc where he's like fuck Carl by the end of the movie.
Yeah, I just love him looking down at Carl Denham as he's enjoying his fame with just this look of half disgust.
Yeah, especially because Carl literally scarred his face.
He has a little, like cut in his cheek, yeah, but it's noticeable.
Also, he's one of the people that helps Jack like try and get people out of the theater before Kong gets out. That
Yeah.
was an interesting aspect.
Something else I also have to say about Carl's film crew. I like how all their deaths feel impactful.
Hmm.
Like the poor camera guy who gets fucking devoured by the Dinosaurs.
Oh yeah.
Or Herb. Little old Herb.
I know a lot of people like that. Fucking, I don't know how many sailors there are, but like a lot of people fucking died in this movie.
Yeah.
And
It's
I'm just
17?
like, it looks like they came with like 20 people, but I saw like fucking 60 people get like yeeted and murdered throughout this movie. I'm just like, what are the numbers on this?
But yeah, speaking of the ship crew, I guess we'll move on to the ship crew, and I have to say, I really love the relationship between Hayes and Jimmy. There's such a fun duo of side characters. I feel so bad when Hayes dies because he's such a cool
he's one of my
character
favorite
too.
characters.
Same.
Actually makes me sad that we don't get
Mhm.
I know it like makes sense from a plot standpoint, but it does kind of disappoint me that the crew of the ship are just completely dropped in that third act.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
thinking
It would've
that,
been-
like, I agree. I would have liked to see more like a conclusion for a lot of them because then
I'd
they
have
just
liked
kind
to
of
see Jimmy working with Jack or something. It would have made more sense because he
Yeah.
obviously had that revenge story, which was half-assed solved at the end. And
yeah.
but yeah, it's like I really Andy Serkis is as the chef.
Oh yeah,
Like,
Lumpy. Lumpy's a
Lumpy,
really fun
yeah.
character.
He is. Oh, I love him so much. He's fantastic.
Though he dies in such a brutal way.
Yeah, that scene is
Apparently-
iconic.
apparently in the
mhm.
theater, like his kids were right next to him watching, and they're like, they said something to Andy Serkis around like, "Man, you just have no luck."
It hit that definitely always made me sad as a kid because he dies trying to protect Charlie's body. Which, by the way, Charlie does not survive
Charlie,
this
they
time.
killed Charlie in this one. The audacity, 0 out of 10 movie. I can't believe it. But they also, like, once again, they don't actually give Charlie any personality in this movie. He's not even
Yeah,
like an actor. I don't know what it's. Everything about Charlie is so weird to me in this movie, but that's unrelated. Well, actually, no, we're talking about the crew now, so
yeah,
I can't talk about that.
yeah,
So yeah, I would. They don't even like really name drop him. We just kind of see him around, like, oh shit, like that's Charlie. But then he
Mhm.
dies. It's
Gets
like,
one
damn.
introduction scene, doesn't he? He
Yeah,
gets the
yeah,
introduction scene with the chloroform, which
yeah, and then
I don't know how many
exactly.
times you can see that logo of the chloroform before it
Chloroform.
registers, but
But then it's like
it's
Jimmy and
even.
Charlie are like homies, I guess. But yeah, then yeah, that scene, the bug pit. Fuck that scene, by the way. I hate you, Peter
Fuck
Jackson.
that
You
scene.
asshole. Fuck.
Hell, hold on to that though because we'll talk about that with
Okay,
Marcy.
but yeah, it was Lumpy. He is sad death. He had a lot of character and personality in the movie. He was one of the funniest crew members, at least. One with a
Mhm.
lot of like humor to him. So he died
Mhm.
real fucked. But yeah, other crew members, yeah, like Hayes and Jimmy, like you said. I like what they had going for like during on there on Skull Island.
Mhm.
That was great. But yeah, crew was
Oh,
cool.
Ton or whoever wants to go first on
Tongue go first.
on okay
Yeah,
for the ship
the
crew.
Venture Crew is probably one of my favorite parts of the movie. They're all so very well fleshed out. Like, love Hayes and Jimmy. I also really like this reinvention of Captain Englehorn.
Oh
That's
yeah,
another
he's
very
really
Mhm.
different.
yeah. In the original, he's kind of like a nice like grandpa, ship captain, the kind of respectable person. Here, he's very shifty. He's like
Yeah,
uh, he's almost like a poacher who's kind of like an ambiguous past. You can tell
yeah,
he's up to he's up to some shifty stuff, and a lot of it's just kind of implication, but I love how this movie uses like implication to really kind of build up its characters and make you invested in them.
hmm
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. I
I
like
agree.
how it's foreshadowed. Sorry. I just like how it's foreshadowed very early on um that well, it's not foreshadowed. It's straight up fucking told you that they trap animals, and you're like,
yeah,
that seems like it doesn't make. Why would they mention that? Oh yeah, because they're going to capture Kong. I
yeah,
do like how so much of these characters is there, and like
hmm
you feel like you really know them by the end.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Something else funny though. Speaking of animals, there's actually a reference which I missed to one of Peter Jackson's earlier horror films. In that scene, they have a fucking monkey. What's it called? It's a monkey that's referencing Brain Dead because it's the monkey which spreads the zombie virus in that movie, and they have one on board on the Venture.
It's a prequel. It all ties together.
Monkey's evil confirmed.
Monkey, monkey,
But
please.
yeah, does anyone have anything else they want to say about any of the human characters, or should we finally move on to the monsters?
Oh, I
Just
was gonna
that.
say. Oh, sorry.
I
Oh,
was gonna say in this one, I think Peter Jackson does a great job of fleshing out, or at least giving more character to all the side characters. Because in
yeah.
the original, they don't really have much of a voice. They're just kind of there, to die. And
hmm
here, kind of the same thing, but you get to know more about them before they die, and I think that adds a lot
Yeah.
to the impact of when they actually are killed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
RF, go ahead. What do you
I
have
was
to say?
gonna say, for the Venture Crew, I will say that like for a long time in my writing, I drew a lot of inspiration for like mentor relationships from both Jimmy and Mr. Hayes's relationship.
hmm
Like it's some parts I feel like I straight up plagiarized from it. But it's interesting that like Engelhorn is a shifty person, but he's not as shifty as Carl Denham. Like that's kind of the crazy part is that we got this poacher here, and like he's not even he's not even like the slimiest person on the ship. it's Carl Denham, and it's interesting that like Carl actually sort of uses sort of like the less nice aspects of Englehorn
Mhm.
to just like manipulate him into capturing Kong.
Yeah. I feel like Denham subtly threatens Englehorn into it too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess we could talk about the monsters. Starting with, of course, the titular monster, King Kong. And wow, I have to say, this is my favorite King Kong, honestly.
Yes.
I love the design here, even though it's just an oversized girl. I think they give it enough personality. And this personality, which they give him, which is partly helped by the fact that Andy Serkis did the mocap, is so good. Like, he's such a great character here, Kong. Because he's actually a character for the first time, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of
Yeah.
outside of ironically like the Toho stuff in King Kong Lives, like this is the first time where he's really fleshed out, where you get that sense of loneliness from him, that he's the last member of the species and that he doesn't have anyone left, and that's why he's the way he is. But yeah, whoever wants to go next on Kong.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of Kongs in this round table so far, but this is one of the best ones. Like, he gets a lot of time to shine. We see more of his personal soft side, and he still has like a lot of the classic Kong mannerisms we like see from
Mhm.
33. And
Yeah,
just everything about this one, like his relationship with Anne, is much more fleshed out, much more developed here, and he's just like I feel like inherently just being like an animal being taken out of space was always kind of sympathetic, but here they do a lot more to like show you why they care when he dies,
yeah,
and it's very tragic, and yeah, I love all the little moments he has here, of just him like being a monkey, like raging out like a man child when Anne's like stop like pushing me down,
yeah,
or him like just chilling there like just kind of looking off, just thinking.
yeah.
He has like, a lot of great moments. This one, this Kong
I,
is really good.
I also love the fact that Anne manages to teach him some sign language, like he knows what beautiful means because she
Yeah.
taught him to him.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
The bit where he does that when he's overlooking New York City is so
Mm-hmm.
fucking sad to me.
Yeah.
It's a good scene.
I was seeing people complaining about the fact that in the trailers for Godzilla versus Kong, he's using sign language. They're like, Kong can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, he has in the past.
He's
What are
me.
you talking about?
That's really weird.
Godzilla fans complain about stuff that they don't know anything about. It's just Tuesday RF.
Okay.
But yeah, I also love this is probably, in my opinion, the most impactful Kong depth scene because of what we talked about. Like he has just so much development in that depth scene really smacks hard. But yeah, and whoever wants to go next on Kong between RF, Dan, and Ton.
I really like Kong here in this. It's kind of interesting. This Kong's kind of a departure from the past, where before Kong's kind of been like almost like kind of like Bigfoot or the Yeti almost,
Hmm.
and kind of his build and shape. Even 33 Kong, he's looks kind of like a gorilla, but he's very different in a way. They kind
Hmm.
of double down on the gorilla inspiration here. It works
Yeah.
well. Kong here is a big silverback, but he looks distinct. He has such a like recognizable appearance. Probably one of my favorite designs for the character. Um and like you guys said, he's just so much more of a
Hmm.
fleshed out character. You really come to care about this Kong. And I love how they humanize him by making him not more human, but just kind of making him very intelligent, ape like.
Yeah.
Even like the sign language is very reminiscent of like Coco the gorilla who knew
Hmm.
sign language. And I love Andy Serkis's motion capturing.
Hmm.
He brings a lot of personality and
Oh,
natural movement to Kong, which is
d-
really good.
did you wanna know what you reminded me of, Ton? Which I didn't know until you pointed out during this watch.
Hmm.
Is that when they're taking Kong away, Kong tries to do like the ape motion for sorry to Anne, which I was like, oh man, that's super sad.
Oh yeah, I noticed that too. Which if you've ever watched the Planet of the Apes movies, it's like apes apologize by like touching the the bottom of their hands together. So that was a really interesting visual, which was really helps add emotion to that scene.
It helps that Andy Serkis spend like 2 weeks with gorillas to like study for it.
He's
Because
basically half gorilla at this point. He spends so much time with them.
But
Wow,
yeah, RF or Danny ever wants to go next on Kong.
Yeah, I think that Kong in this is the best Kong that we have ever had.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that he is far more gorilla. It kind of grounds him, and like in a weird way, that grounding of Kong kind of makes him a lot more relatable. And I was actually thinking about the weird like thing they were doing in like the newer Jurassic Worlds, where they try to more humanize like Blue and
Mhm.
Rexy the T-Rex. And I thought, where did they go wrong with this? And watching this the other day made me realize that like this is more of what it should be. It should be acting like an actual animal, and but still like an actual sympathetic animal.
Yeah.
Your dog does things that really make you empathize with your dog, and like a lot of things happen with Kong that like a normal gorilla would do. Like we were talking about this before, like the scene where he's actually eating exactly like a gorilla does.
Oh yeah.
That was such a great scene. And then just the fact that like, yeah, he's got a bit of a sense of humor. He kind of likes things falling down. He likes things falling down
Mm-hmm.
a bit. And
Mhm.
I like that that's the aspect that makes Kong sort of more interested in becoming Anne's friend and not
Yeah.
just beauty.
Yeah.
Like I was kind of just like, yeah.
He doesn't. He doesn't want to fuck her here. Unlike in Kong 76, and thank God for that.
I'm gonna be controversial. Like,
Mhm.
okay, this is definitely my favorite version of Kong. I agree with all the points you've all made. You know, his like personification. Andy is fantastic. He is basically a gorilla. Like he goes home, I don't think Andy looks at human hands anymore. He sees gorilla hands. He just can't tell what's real. Yeah, I agree with that. But also, I would say that the one complaint I have is I find him just being an upsized gorilla. I think that's kind of weak. I don't really
Mhm.
enjoy that. Like, and maybe because I think Kong in general is a really boring designed monster. I'm gonna get
Oh no, that is
crucified.
a hot take.
I'm gonna get crucified for
But,
this. I don't find giant mammals that interesting. I
Oh
think
no, I love
uh,
them.
I don't
I've
think we get
never
enough giant mammal kaijus. I don't feel we
I
get enough. Sorry, continue.
sorry, I understand why people like them. For me, I just am not
Oh yeah.
the biggest fan. I prefer like more in human stuff, but
Mhm.
I do maybe I just like the upright MonsterVerse Kong look.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no,
But
I feel you. That's definitely like I think here, yeah, I think the design looks great, but like yeah, for Kong, it's kind of very simplified. Because
yeah,
Yeah.
it feels
he had
it
that
just
more kind of like he's like an ape, but not like exactly. You know, he's upright and
Yeah.
more like hunched over. So
yeah.
I see what you mean, but yeah.
It's just like to me, I find it quite. It's not lazy because obviously they put so much thought into it and it looks beautiful. But I
Definitely.
think maybe
I
I feel like
think part
maybe
of
it's just a
that
bit.
comes from Peter Jackson's realism boner, because
Yeah,
you go to the Hobbits a few years later, and he gets rid of Smaug's front legs because he's like, there's no vertebra with 6 limbs. So I think
Mhm.
that's more Peter Jackson's quirk, where he
but
likes his
like
realism a lot.
my yeah, and I the thing is because this was my definite Kong for so long. I actually remember when they announced Skull Island and they were like, "Hey, Kong now stands up and he doesn't look like a giant gorilla." I was like, "What? That ain't what Kong is. Kong is a giant gorilla." So shout out to however I don't know how old I was. It was after I'd seen the other the Godzilla vs Kong films, but
Mhm.
Shout out to me when I was younger, going, "Oh, that's disappointing," and then having my mind completely changed. So I think like obviously this is my favorite version of the character. I don't think GVK is going to change that.
Mhm.
Even if he does do sign language, I can't believe it. Unrealistic. But
Audacity.
yeah, I really like the way he interacts with Anne. Like it doesn't feel like love; it feels like two friends. Like he's obviously a
Yeah.
very lonely character, which I think is what they wanted to go for in some of the more recent Godzilla films. But to me, it has never really clicked like it has here. Like this is
Mhm.
a lone like king, and you know, Anne's the first one to ever like listen to him. Really, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It
Though-
seems
sad.
like
I
people
get sad when he
like
dies.
fighting on this island. Everybody
Yeah.
knows he's dead, so it's just like having someone there to talk to, just be with.
Yeah.
Just gives him a
Yeah.
lot of like happiness.
Mhm.
But yeah, RF. I know you also said that before. You used this Kong a lot in your writings. Like I know this is the deep pull, but I know for Sailback you said you used this
Oh
Kong.
fuck! Are we really referencing Sailback in the year of our Lord 2021?
Yes, because
No.
that was formulaic stuff for me. That was formative media.
Oh shit. I apologize. But yeah, no. I guess yeah, it was for at least that character when I was playing that in a role play forum. But no, and again, years later, I'm still like, yeah, no, Kong is like a great point for like a non-human character. Like this '05 Kong is a great point for like characterizing one
Yeah.
beyond just animal, aggressive,
hmm
gonna eat you. I'm going to chase after you a tiny morsel while I have a 1-ton lizard already stuffed down my throat.
Great
My
intro. Great
favorite
intro.
scene. My
Great
favorite
intro to
scene
the
of the
V
film.
Rexes.
Oh yeah, that was one aspect that I actually like. I like more because I was kind of expecting him to do like the fucking Spinosaurus Jurassic Park thing, where like even though he's got a whole ass big meal, he just like abandons it to chase a tiny person. So even though he does chase the tiny people, at least he like kept his food and like continued to eat it. I appreciated that.
I love those dinosaurs. They're fantastic.
Yeah.
The V
Yeah.
Rexes.
First, what's I guess we'll start with now. The V Rexes. They are really cool design wise. They're so retro store mixed with the more modern JP stuff. It's a really nice 50-50 blend.
Oh my god, they're
They
so
look cool.
cool.
And that fight scene is so badass. Like it's I know some people complain that it gets too over the top, but I actually like that Peter Jackson increases the scale of it to that degree.
It's because it's a fantasy film. Like it fits in
Yeah.
with the aesthetic of blending. I don't know if this is even a proper term, but I like to call it hyper realism because it's realism but hyper.
Realistic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Started bleeding out of his
it's-
eyes.
yeah, it's just like it's just complete ridiculousness, and it's fun. I love the bit with the V-Rex, like what you said, Faye. Like it's one of, if not my favorite, like T-Rex, like like designs of like the last 15 years. It's just I because I watched all the behind the scenes stuff religiously as a kid. I've got it burned in my mind of how they researched and adapted it so like it would be like, what if a T-Rex was evolved to run through a jungle? That's basically what they were going for. And I think I love the way they fight, the way they move, and the bit when there's the one dangling just
Yeah.
there, like he was gonna die there, and he saw Anne, and he was like, okay, well I'll get one more meal in before I kick the bucket.
That's
It's
so
just
silly.
so funny because they've got personality and they're obviously a
Yeah.
bit clever, but they're also fucking stupid. I love it.
Fucking done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it wouldn't
Sorry,
be
that's
a
my
Kong
bit on the
movie.
V Rexes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the V Rexes look cool. I love the design.
Yeah.
There's like 3 of them just vibing, and it wouldn't be a Kong movie if Kong didn't fucking snap a dinosaur's mouth in half. He sure does that here, or as any animal. Yeah.
Sorry, there's 76.
Oh yeah.
He snapped a snake's mouth. I guess that's something. At least he snapped him out. Yeah, here he fucking rips it apart. It's nuts. But yeah, they're cool. I like their design. It's scary.
Mhm.
And fuck, what was the introduction scene when Anne was hiding in the log and then like
Yeah.
So good.
fucking, like,
Oh
Komodo
god, the
dragon ass
centipedes.
dudes did? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
gross
That scene
enemy.
is so gross.
Yeah, but that scene's really cool with her hiding the logs. You can't really see anything; just sees the other ones like dip as soon as they hear whatever it is that's coming.
Yeah.
It's a terrifying dinosaur. It's cool.
Yeah. Ton.
Yeah, I love the V-Rexes. So much iconic creature design in this movie, especially with them. Like you guys mentioned, it's just a great blend of realism and fantasy with like these giant retro-looking tyrannosaurs, but rather than just throwing in the JP Rex, I appreciate them taking the effort to make like a really iconic and distinctive creature.
Mm-hmm.
I still have flashbacks to playing the game, getting in the levels where you
Oh.
play as Jack and you get chased by the V-Rex. Those
Oh,
scared and
that's
terrified
fantastic
me.
scene.
Cool.
Yeah.
Something
Oh,
else.
That game so good.
Something else which I really love with the V-Rexes is that they're shown to be pack hunters too, which is actually more accurate to T-Rexes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, no, it is.
I know they said that the pack there was the last pack on Skull Island, which we were memeing about. This movie's a fucking genocide of Skull Island's species because they're all going extinct from all this shit. Because the
That's what they
V-Rexes,
get for being an uncharted island in the middle of nowhere that no one was expected to find.
because these are the last few V-Rexes in the world, and Kong just kills them all. Because that was the mom, the dad, and their a teenager, and they're all fucking dead.
13. It was
Well-
just the boy. No.
Fun
Typical
fact
white
about
people
the
end up in a new area and everything goes extinct.
it's actually quite a fun fact because I told you, Faye, about that. With the DVD, there's a nature documentary which acts like it's real and convinced me that Skull Island was a real place.
They really went there and they filmed it with all these creatures.
Yeah. And
That
in this nature
documentary.
that nature documentary says that after like they all joined, like after they like came and like saw like and like explored, like Skull Island sunk into the sea a few years later. So it literally is the whole island is going extinct. And I think that
Just like Son of Kong.
yeah,
They're like an
and I
in-universe
think-
thing. They always do that. Yeah, there's a lot of Son of Kong element to it. It's interesting. But yeah, continue. Sorry.
No, sorry. I just think it's like quite like it's in the background. It's not really a big main theme, but to me, it sort of feels like you can tell this island is dying. Like
Yeah.
this civilization, like to go back to the natives. Like I don't know if it's intentional or not, but they probably weren't. They weren't always like horrific monsters, which is they obviously had a grand civilization once because there was walls and like grand structures. So
Yeah.
it does sort of seem like this is a dying ecosystem, and Kong is like because he's the last of his kind, and like he's obviously like the living personification of the extinction. And I don't know if that's an intentional thing that Peter Jackson was going for.
Knowing Peter Jackson, I'd say yes, because Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings also has that end of magic element to it, and I think Skull Island has a lot of that element to it in Congo 5, like that end of everything, like this, like you're at the end of this golden age for Skull Island.
Yeah, it does feel like it's a bit of a environmental message hidden there some way. You know, the hot thing that everybody's doing these days.
Or
But
pretend to do.
but yeah, RF, do you have any other thoughts on the V-Rexes, or should we move on?
I just a lot of my thoughts were the thoughts that everybody else had. I thought that they were amazingly badass. I thought that they were such a cool design. I remember just in the game, they're actually when you play as Jack, they're invincible.
Yeah,
Like, they are literally indestructible, and you have to play your way around that. And I thought that was the coolest stuff ever.
That's really clever.
Yeah,
and
but
it's interesting because like that nature documentary you brought up, I just remembered it, and I'm like, that's kind of like the root of a lot of like my like world building and my and my love for like building different like worlds and landscapes came from.
I feel like it was that way for a lot of people, especially because they also released a tie-in book that was like an almanac of all the species on Skull Island, with way more stuff than was in the movies even.
I could never get my hands on that book.
Neither could I. It's actually really rare now.
Fuck.
unfortunately.
Jeff.
But
Yeah, probably.
definitely, yeah. But yeah, Ton.
Yep.
Guess what time it is now?
hmm
Brontosaurus time. Go.
Oh yeah, the Brontosaurus in this movie. There are a lot more passes than in Kong 33. No meat eating this time. But
I really wanted him to just fucking eat somebody again.
that was
That would've been so funny.
but I love this movie. They kind of have that Jurassic Park Brachiosaurus sereneness to them.
Yeah.
And they start stampeding and crushing people, and that all kind of goes away. But they have such a fun kind of retro sword charm to them,
Mhm.
but still feel very new.
Yeah.
I love them.
See, what I find so funny with them is that they're named Brontosaurus because back when this movie came out, Brontosaurus was an invalid species, and now that it's valid again, it's weird because they're the only dinosaur with their old names still.
Mhm.
But yeah, whoever else wants to talk about the Brontosauruses can go. Crash, RF, or Dan.
Yeah, they're cool. They have a nice team. They're just chilling. But then, what scares them again is the fucking raptors.
Yeah, the
Raptors,
Venatosaurs.
Dinosaurs. Yeah, and then they all do stupid brontosaurus shit. They all bump into each other while they're running, and then
Yeah,
fall off. But yeah, their presence was cool. They're much more like not like normal sauropods
yeah.
which are
That
pretending.
action scene to me, while not bad, it's kind of my least favorite one. I feel like everybody surviving that is a bit too silly to me.
There's some people that get like crushed, but
I-
surprisingly, not a lot of casualties. Like they managed to
Yeah,
like they trip and they're like they get up surprisingly well. Like damn, these brontosauruses they're not very good at even accidentally killing people.
um, I do remember that one of the main appeals to going to see a King Kong movie again was to see dinosaurs, and I remember just my eye pupils dilating as soon as I saw like the brontosauruses in theater. Um, it's
mhm.
really interesting because once again, it's like, yeah, no, this is like the last brontosaur herd. So when you're watching like the stampede where they're all falling and crushing one another, it's just like we just watched the end of an entire species right
Yeah,
there.
I in contra, I know it's like a lot of people have soured on that scene. Like I understand what you're saying, Faye. Like it is completely fucking ridiculous, but I love it. I think it's like as many things in this film. It's that hyper realism. It's completely stupid, ridiculous, and the Brontosaurus, like to me, the Brontosaurus. That was another one of those scenes that I always used to skip to on the DVD as a kid.
mhm.
And the like the V Raptors, whatever they're called, like their design is so silly and doesn't make sense, and the Brontosauruses are so silly, and it's the way they're animated is really cool. I like the way they
Yeah,
sort of flop, and I do find it funny that a couple of little bullets in their legs, which probably would feel like if somebody chucked little tiny seeds at our legs, like managed to make them fall over. But that's beside the point. Like it's a very kinetic scene. I love the energy of it. I love how chaotic it is, and
mhm.
yeah, I've never considered how that is probably the last herd, and now that was an entire species wiped out um by running, which is quite funny. I relate to that. That's very me. So yeah, it was a good. I really like the Brontosaurus. There's no dinosaur part in this film I can complain about. I'm just gonna sit here heaping praise on it. You might as well skip me. I'm gonna be a one track pony here.
Well, for dinosaurs, which I'm not huge on in this one, I don't like the Venatosaurs too much personally. They kind of fall into that like, oh, we have to have a raptor in our movie kind of trap to me, and it's like
Mhm.
not really. It's not bad. It's just like, here's a weird looking raptor without toe claws. I don't even know what they're meant to be because they don't really look that much like raptors.
From what I remember, they're similar to the V Rex. They're meant to be. They had a more of an like. In the film, I always forget how little they are in the film because in the game they're in like every other level. And actually, I played the game to death. I'm going to reference it quite a lot. It's one of my faves from my childhood. But I remember like they're a lot more have a presence there in the film. They are. I think they are a bit disappointing, but I do like how they they are a very strange design. Like they've got like
Yeah.
eyes on the side of their heads, and they've got a very strange like mouth. They're a fun. They're definitely unique. I can understand why somebody wouldn't like them. They're kind of ugly.
Yeah, they're very ugly. Does anyone else have any takes? Oh wait, go on, RF.
It's kind of weird because looking at the Venatosaurus skull, it kind of has this weird Abellosaurus slant to it, mixed with a duck. If that makes any sense.
Yeah,
Like
I can see that.
it looks like an Abellosaur just looked at a Dromaeosaur and said, "Oh shit, I can do that," and then just made that.
Yeah,
But I do agree. Like I kind of love them primarily just from the games. Like they have a really tiny part in the movie that really that's kind of a really silly action sequence. But like most of most of my love, yeah, I gotta admit, comes from the fact that they're like one of the primary mooks in the game.
hmm
I do like. Sorry, just a quick
Yeah.
button. Like, yeah, it does fulfill that Velociraptor, Jurassic Park itch, but it doesn't feel as overt as it did in other such films.
Yeah.
Like Zilla. Like it doesn't. We don't have a scene with like it's being slow with them stalking around like a bit of wood or something. It's just straight
Yeah.
up just chaos, and they take sort of a backseat. I like that about them.
Crash or Ton, do you have any takes on the Venatosaurs, or should I move on?
Yeah,
I think
I was gonna say they're just kind of like Kong raptors. They're all right. They serve their purpose.
All right, well, it's time for my favorite Congo 5 dinosaur. Though, because Dan didn't watch the extended edition, he
Basic
wanna.
ass.
Okay, Crash, shut the fuck up.
Continue.
How the fuck do you even say its name? It's the Phrectus?
Dinosaurs. I don't know. How
I-
to
Is that the
say it.
water one?
The Ceratopsian in it.
Yeah. It was
Oh
only
yeah,
one
that's
second.
in it for like half a second in the normal one. Yeah.
Yeah, Faructus. That's Farucutus? I can't say the ground, so they give it a really rude name. They couldn't have just called it like something Ceratops. Are you kidding me? Anyways, yeah, I love the Faructus, especially because in the extended edition, it actually gets to do something beyond just like a half a second cameo.
Charging
Where,
them and trap
yeah,
them in a cave.
where they recreate the Kong 33 Stegosaurus scene, but they use it for that, and it's a really fun scene. It fucking yeets everybody.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they're like 20 people died, but they also took like 20 people with them. So I'm just like, what the? Are these people? They're just like teching all of it. Like, they okay? I guess
I guess.
Find the scene. I need to find this scene.
it's a fun scene. Yeah, it's been a while since I'd like seen the movie anyway. So to me, I wasn't like, was this not in the original? I was just like, okay, like it's part of the movie, I guess. But yeah, that scene was cool. It's a nice recreation of the Stego scene. I'm surprised they would damn it to only the extended version because like that's like a classic scene, even if they
Yeah.
use a different dinosaur.
Mhm.
Except the Fuckosaurus, it's not as big. I can't say its name. It's not as big as the Stegosaurus was in 33, which was
Yeah.
fucking massive.
Yeah, that was basically its own kaiju.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead. Who are between RF and Tunk? I know you both want to say something, so whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I really like the Stegosaurus in Kong 33. This is a good replacement for it. It has a lot of nice energy, and that scene is just really fun in the extended cut, where it's just
Yeah.
wrecking everybody.
Yeah. RF.
I like it because it's basically just a Pachyrhinosaurus fused with a Chasmosaurus.
Yeah,
and,
it has a really nifty design.
yeah, it's a really cool design, and I just enjoyed it. And it's also, if I remember correctly, the last one standing on Skull Island after the Venture
Yes.
basically leaves.
Yeah, it's the only one which has confirmed. Though the Venatosaurs get away too. So it's the Venatosaurs and the Fructus. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Those are the only two survivors.
At least until it sinks, according to Dan.
Yep. It does.
No, according to the official natural history
Yeah.
of the very real place.
But yeah, I think it's time though. We talked about all the dinosaurs. I think it's time to get into what everybody wants to talk about: the insect pit.
No.
Whoever wants to go first on the insect pit.
Yeah, this scene definitely scarred a lot of children for
Yes,
a long time.
I think all of
Even
us
when
were
I'm,
scarred by it.
yeah, it's just it's kind of crazy because it's a complete shift from from it makes sense too because obviously they fall down, but from like they're on top of the island, the surface is fighting more natural like creatures, and then here it's just like they have this
Eldritch
one like
abomination
ominous.
shit.
Yeah, there's this one ominous like chord that just plays the whole time while they're just like bombarded by like giant enemy crabs, like giant bugs, and assorted terrifying shit that the world's not meant to see, and it's so creepy because everyone's
Mhm.
just on their own, just trying not to die, trying to
Yeah,
escape, getting picked up, getting ripped apart. It's so fucking scary, and even like Denham here, like that's when his movie breaks, and he just
yeah,
goes like fucking mad and just starts like fucking the shit out of these bugs, like messing them up.
yeah,
It's an intense scene. It's very scary, and then Lumpy
yeah.
gets
Fucking
devoured.
eaten by worms.
And the worm thing.
It's so gross.
So hellish. It's a
And the
terrifying
fucking
scene.
giant wettas also, which are
Ugh,
disgusting.
no.
Then you have the big like giant arm coming out of like the side, which you
Yeah,
never
just
see the
grabs
full
and eats
animal.
that guy. I like. What even is that? What even is that? I don't
It's so
know.
creepy.
It's just a terrifying scene.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay, whoever wants to go next on that.
All right. So I know a bit of history with Peter Jackson, who has a gigantic fear of like spiders and
Yeah.
creepy crawlies. And according to the making of Lord of the Rings with the Shelob sequence,
Mhm.
it has been Peter Jackson's like mission to instill the same fear he feels for these animals into every human being that watches his movies.
Gotta respect that.
Yeah,
Gotta respect
I
it.
I can see that. Because that scene is so disturbing. It's so disturbing. Dan or Ton, whoever wants to go next.
I don't want to talk about it.
Sorry, you go first, Ton. I'll go
Scissors.
last.
Oh
Robbie.
yeah. I love the insect pit sequence. It's one of
Mhm.
I feel like Peter Jackson heard how the original scene got cut because it was too terrifying in 33 and was like, oh, okay, I'll make it even worse then. And it works so well. I love all the different creatures like the giant worms, the scorpions, the crabs, the giant Weta insects, which if you if you're not familiar with New Zealand, they have these giant grasshopper looking things called Wetas. They're
Fucking
terrifying.
Yeah.
big. They're pretty harmless too, right? But they're just gross.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're actually pretty friendly, but they're scary
Not
looking.
the other ones.
Not the ones on Skull Island.
The
Ugh.
Skull Islands eat people. It's such a well done sequence. It's
Yeah.
absolutely terrifying. I love it. Yeah, like I hate it, but I love it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Dan.
Strangely enough, this scene never scared me as a kid. I was so
Wow.
afraid. I think the native scene had scarred me so much
You
with
couldn't get any
um,
lower.
yeah, with monstrous racism that insects seemed like child's play for me.
The true horror here is that of man's
Yeah, I
racism.
mean it's true. I got to agree with everybody. Those worms are it's such like good designs. I know like a lot of them are just like big bugs, but I
Mhm.
think you can't really go wrong with big bugs.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a great little scene. I love the idea of a pit full of insects, and I wish that they hadn't got rid of that. That's what the MonsterVerse has taken from us. It's taken a pit full of
Bit of
bugs. Yeah, I'm
Insect pit. Well, I
yeah, it's
mean,
a really good
actually,
scene.
actually, wait, I'll hold off. Crash will see next week.
But yeah, I
What's on
agree.
that
I
Skull
think
Island.
like this pit especially just does a good job of showcasing like all the creatures, or at least a lot of the creatures of Skull Island, just how
Yeah.
diverse and terrifying it is. Because we
The
see
Yeah.
it,
effects are incredible.
Yeah.
Sorry.
no, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Like just getting the way he gets eaten like lumpy by the worm thing. They just like gorge him. It's fucking
Yeah.
while he's like flailing away trying to fight, but it's like useless. Rip Lumpy and Charlie.
Yeah. Though at least Charlie died from the fall and not the bugs. That's better. Though, yeah, the other monster in the theatrical cut, which we also have, is they replaced the giant pteranodon at the end of Kong Series 3 with giant bats.
Recently,
With Mhm.
that was a really funny scene though, because like they're just chilling, and then like the bats are just vibing, and then when Jack wakes up and like they're about to escape, the bats just like start fucking bullying Kong. For, like no reason. He's just like chilling. They start like fucking attacking him. It made me laugh.
It's like he lives there. Shouldn't they be like pretty harmonious with him? It's very strange.
That's what I thought. I guess they're just pissed, like, bro, why'd you wake us up? And they're just like
Yeah.
getting his
The bats have such a creepy design to me because they're like they have no fur, they're hairless. They look like gross to me. They're so gross, the bats.
Mm-hmm.
It's surprising they don't
Well,
even
they're
attack any people though. Like they're pretty chill with the humans, I guess. I mean, Jack catches her eyes, so
Yeah, I love that.
They're just Jack's wingmen.
Yeah.
indeed.
What are they called?
It
They're
was an
called
inside plan
something.
all along. They planned that. Like it wasn't an accident. That's why they attacked Kong and then flew Jack and Anne away. It was all planned from the beginning.
I don't.
They they put the hit out on Kong.
They put the hit on Kong.
There's
Yeah,
also
But
a
yeah,
photo.
but yeah, Ton, go on.
Oh yeah, I love the bats. They're really fun. They're super creepy, and also they're once again to bring in the game. They're absolute pain in the ass. In the game. They swarm around
Used to love chucking spears at them.
you. hmm
Mm-hmm.
That was always satisfying.
I gotta play it sometime.
Same. I played as a kid, but I never got too far because I sucked at video games.
I used to be terrified of it. It used to scare me a lot. I was such a pussy as a kid. Here's the thing. King Kong scared me loads, but I played Silent Hill 2 as a kid, but I still couldn't get through like the first half of King Kong, the official video game of the
It's really
movie
funny.
Peter Jackson. So it's a great game. It does hold up actually. It's very innovative in my opinion.
It's got like it has a really big production value by like I
Yeah.
know a pretty prominent game designer, Michael
Yeah.
Ansel. That's why I'm like really interested in checking it out. But
It released on every platform ever, so
really
you can.
that's true.
Yeah,
It's probably
pretty
on
much.
Steam if I check. I gotta I gotta see
I'll have a look
honestly.
actually.
But
Get up.
yeah, the bats they're pretty cool. They have small scene, but yeah, I'm kind of surprised they didn't use a pteranodon though, because they were using a lot
Yeah.
of like creatures like that. But oh well, I
like the
mean,
Maybe
mix,
they
though.
wanted
I do
to.
like the mix.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking that they wanted to mix it up and not just do old reptiles.
that's true. There's a lot of diversity here.
Because
But,
beyond the Snatcher, you also had like the big lizards that the V-Rexes eat and stuff like
yeah,
that.
Komodo dragon things. They're
Yeah.
really cool.
Though now it's time to move into the monsters which Dan wouldn't know about because these are the ones that only in the extended cut. Though actually, Dan, you do know one of these. Dan, I know you said you watched the lead scene, and that's the big fish that attacks them in the river.
I have seen the deleted scenes like ages ago. I didn't watch them today because I just
Mhm.
I can't be bothered. But so I did. And also they're in the game, so I can sort of. I'm on the
Yeah.
wiki. I'm on Wikizilla right now. And I can
They're
sort of,
wikis right now.
I can sort of just scroll to these and be like, oh yeah, I remember these. I remember that. So yeah, sorry. I'll just listen. I'll be polite.
Its official name is Fishkiss Rex. I think it's very scary.
Yeah.
I was lying, by the way, but yeah, it's big fish thing is it's that's one thing I remember being. I was actually kind of like I don't remember this at all.
Yeah.
Obviously the extent.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a very intense scene. But once again, there's a good job showing the different kinds of life on school. Like, you can see more
Yeah.
aquatic creatures here with this giant fish. At first, there's like the tiny little bitch fishes that like try to attack the boat.
Yeah.
They just all
Oh wait!
simultaneously.
Oh wait! Crash. They're cool in that because they weren't fish. They were sea
Yeah,
scorpions, which is
that'd
not
be
common.
fucking terrifying. God, but yeah, then they all dip, and then it's like, yo, what's that? And then it's bigger fish.
Yeah.
It's and it just decimates a lot of them. It's really
Yeah.
scary because everyone's out of their element in the water. They can't stand a chance against this thing, and it's almost kind of hopeless because they're just kind of getting picked off by this
Yeah.
fish.
The
Really
fish scene was scarier than I remembered from watching it as
Yeah, it
like
was
a deleted
really
scene.
intense. It's probably Jack's like underwater, he gets knocked down with the
Yeah.
other guy, and he's like trying to save him to not swim up, but it's too late. The fish just like gets him.
Yeah.
It's a really great sequence.
Our effort time and whoever wants to go next.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I really liked the idea of using sea scorpions as like a monster, but
Mhm.
and I did like that this sort of emphasized like it was weird because you were it seemed at first like Jack was trying to like protect like Preston and stuff, but
Mhm.
it was really the camera. And I like the scene literally for the end sequence where Lumpy goes, "Did you get that on film?" Like
Yes,
I
that's
thought
such a
that
good bit.
Did?
I think that like a lot. I have a controversial opinion. I think a
Oh, go
lot
ahead.
of this could have been cut. Like
Whoa!
we literally had just had the Brontosaurus stampede. Like
But it's so
literally,
much fun having all the monster stuff, though. I love
Yeah,
it.
I love the monster. I think for if you're going to an extended cut, I think that's to be
okay,
fair.
Yeah,
fair.
well, what you want to
If it's
see.
like if it's for like if fair, like I understand for like the extended as an extended cut, I'm fine with it. But I understand 1000% why they cut this out in the theatrical release. It's just I wish they'd I don't know, maybe included like
Work
an
to that line
abridged
in somehow.
version
Mhm.
of that sequence.
Mhm.
Because just to include that one scene where Carl films like the guy
Someone
dying.
dying.
Yeah.
That scene was
Yeah.
so what the fuck, by the way. That
Yeah.
really caught me off guard. They were all just they made it one guy gets fucking like you're
Yeah.
devoured out of nowhere by the fish. I
Yeah.
was like, bro.
Ton.
Yeah, I really liked it. The fish had a cool design. Uh, and so did the sea scorpions. I can definitely. I kind of agree with RF. I can see why they cut it, but it's a really fun
Oh,
comic.
I
Jaws.
finally found its name. Its name is Piranodon, which is badass.
Pteranodon.
Mhm.
I feel like I wasn't even that far off in terms of like how they were thinking about naming it.
Yeah.
Pteranodon. Hell yeah. That's like a
And
fucking
there's one more monster. The fucking bird which they shoot in the extended cut.
oh
The
yeah, the fucking
Moa.
like emo fucking bird thing.
Yeah, the emu bird which gets fucking wrecked, that poor bird.
It's so it's so dang.
So feisty too, because they kind of played out like ants near the crew, and then you
Yeah.
see Lumpy shoot into the jungle, and it's just a dead ass bird.
Yeah. This poor fucking terror bird
It's the alternate
got
ending.
fucking yeeted. But I must say though, that's a great practical effect though. That like it looks fantastic.
Yeah, I was surprised. It's like one of the few ones I noticed or
Yeah,
saw.
I think it's like the only non uh CGI
Yeah,
animal.
looks good.
Mhm.
Rip the bird though, and like it's kind of funny because like just this one small scene just like kind of shows you like I keep saying this, but just how diverse and like interesting the life on Skull Island is. Because like we never
Yeah,
see this bird again, but we
yeah.
know there's probably a lot of these out there, like a whole flock of them. I
Or
imagine.
well, used to be maybe. This might be one of the
Probably.
last ones.
Maybe they killed the last one. God, it's just every
Though
they
the
keep they step on a fucking bug. It's like, dude, that was the last fucking scorpion on Skull Island, dude. Oh my god.
well, the funny thing is though, is when island ecosystems like this in real life, that happens a lot. Like island ecosystems get decimated by humans.
Mhm.
Look at
Fuck
Hawaii.
around. It's pretty interesting though. But is that really the last
Mhm.
monster? That's kind of whack to end off on the fucking emu.
No, no,
No,
that isn't the last monster. There's one more.
what?
Mankind.
Oh, yeah. That's a
There we go.
big
Okay,
brain
okay.
move.
Well, that's it. Let. Go on, Tom.
No, it's like there you have the, the real monster of it all.
Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
the funny thing is, I was actually going to bring up the fight between Kong and the planes is really good in this one too. I really like how they change it.
The true
Mhm.
monsters, man, in their little airplanes fighting Kong, the final monster.
It's
Yeah,
a lot more like centralized because in 33 it's like they get like a ragtag group of like planes are just sitting around, but this time it's the actual Air Force coming in to take Kong down. So you
Mhm.
get more of them. It's a really cool set piece too. Like it gets a lot more action
it's
packed than
iconic.
the originals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I feel it
Also,
kind of covers the same kind of vibe because they do a lot of like cutting back and forth between like
Yeah.
plane shots and like on the tower. It's a
also
really
on the
good
King
sequence.
Kong soundtrack, it's like actually cut into 6 parts. It's called Beauty Killed the Beast, and it's like 20 minutes long.
Man,
Oh my
Like they
oh
god.
include
sweet,
the entire thing.
that's cool, huh? It's a
Can we
song about,
quickly-
Kong's demise.
Yeah.
Can we quickly discuss the soundtrack and how fucking
Oh
good
yeah.
it is?
Oh, that was the other thing next I was gonna say. Funny enough, though, the soundtrack was not the original one because Peter Jackson replaced
Oh,
the original
yeah.
composer 6 weeks before.
I remember that. Yeah.
That's kind of dang.
The
And there's,
original
like, probably-
composer was a Lord of the Rings composer, but both Peter Jackson and Howard Shore agreed that he just wasn't working for what Peter Jackson wanted, so they mutually agreed to have him bow out. And instead he brought in James Newton Howard, who did Atlantis, Disney Atlantis.
Oh, really? The Lost Empire?
Yeah,
Huh. That's really cool.
he did
I-
such a good job on the score.
I still listen to it like quite often. I think it's one of my like favorite soundtracks. It's like that sweeping theme for when they get to the island and stuff. It's like, and like that little piano pling plonk pling for King Kong. It's all really emotional, very charged. It's all very classical cinema. Like the whole film is just completely like the soundtrack is just another extended arm of Peter Jackson's like obvious romantic love. Like, get a room with the 33 film. Hey, come on. It's just great. It's really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah,
It is really good.
Really strong. I agree. Definitely helped a lot to add the scale of
Mhm.
it. But sorry, what were we saying?
Oh no! I was just gonna say, Crash. Once you're done, I'm gonna ask them RF and tell them what they think of the score.
Oh yeah, but no, just think I pretty much agree. Like all
Mhm.
the music he did, especially even like Kong's own little theme like that.
Yeah,
It really like helps a lot, and I think it's all just part of like Peter Jackson's style. He just like knows how to make like an epic movie, and I think for
Yeah.
Kong, like it works so well here, and it all comes together like that with the music, especially.
My particular favorite track is Kong's Death track because that song is so sad. It's such a like depressing track.
Okay, but you want to know the most frustrating part about that? When
What?
it's separated into two tracks on the soundtrack.
Oh
Like,
no!
it is like it's like the choir part. Like they leave the last note of the choir part for the second for the last part of Beauty Killed the Beast.
Oh, that's so annoying. But yeah, Ton. Did you have any thoughts on the score? Oh no!
Done?
We
No.
lost.
Done?
Damn. Done? Hit it?
Oh no!
Okay.
We
Okay.
lost.
Well, while he gets it back, yeah,
Mhm.
the music was excellent. Said that though, but yeah. What's our next topic then?
Well, I was gonna also bring up because Dan reminded me. I absolutely adore all the little references to Kong 33 that gets fit into here.
Oh yeah, I agree. I love it. They pack it full of a lot of small stuff like that.
Like particularly what I find really funny to me is when they bring in the original Skull Islander costumes
Oh yeah, yeah. I noticed that at
for
the end.
the
Yeah,
end.
with the with the Kong celebration, where like they're about to unveil him. Yeah, they have the people like the natives like representing the the original Kong like native costumes. It was a nice touch like that. A lot of small things like we mentioned before when they're filming the movie. They're using like actual literal Kong 33 dialogue like for in-universe
Yeah.
scripts, and even recreating small scenes. Like Anne stealing the apple. Or a
Mhm.
really funny one was when in the car in the beginning of the movie talking about getting an actor. They're like, "Oh, can we get Faye Ray?" It's like, "Oh no, she's working with RKO on another picture right now."
Yeah.
And
And
like nice.
and the other funniest thing to me with that is like to me when they're like, "Oh, damn it, she's working with Marion C. Cooper." It's like
Yeah.
that's a really funny little bit.
Mhm.
It's it.
It's just like it's the attention to detail that you just like. This is the sort of thing you'd see in a comic book movie, which is referencing the original like source material.
Yeah.
Just as an example, like you can tell, it's just really cool to see somebody who like obviously has a passion for the genre and for the original film. Like it's obviously a passion project. It does feel really great. I have no real attachment to the original film, but I feel like I mean I feel like I do through the osmosis of experiencing Peter Jackson's like love and adoration for
Mhm.
for this.
That's a really good point, because I think even if you're not like attached to something, seeing a project with like so much love and passion, I mean, you can really just kind of feel and appreciate that like love he has for it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
really cool to see. Like he cares so much about Kong, and he put all his all into this movie.
Yeah, and I guess the final topic which I want to do before we close out is I guess about the themes of Kong 05, and I guess RF, I'll have to talk about that first. I feel like you have a lot of thoughts on what the movie's trying to say.
Yeah, I do have a lot of thoughts that kind of sort of came to me like in my later years. I didn't really think too much about it when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Dan said something similar, which is that there is kind of this very anti-colonial message within the movie, considering how like Kong is treated, and how a lot of things on Skull Island that are wonderful, fantastic, and beautiful are ruined by like the crew, the Venture crew, and by Carl Denham's intervention.
Mm-hmm.
They even have a line where they say that that's the thing about Carl Denham. He always destroys the things he loves most.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
It's a very like prominent theme throughout it. Yeah, it's true. Cause I mean, we see like it's like they just kind of fucking fuck up the island. Obviously they have sucked, but I guess they do kill the natives there. And with Kong, they pull him off the island, just leaving it like in a horrible state than like when it was when they got there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. That's a really strong message. I don't think I really. Well, I think it's something you pick up, but more like subconsciously with this movie. But yeah, with
Yeah,
this one, I think it's a lot more prominent here.
yeah. I
Mm.
also feel like oh wait, Ton, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna agree with RF. I think this movie has a lot of interesting things to kind of say about colonialism and kind of its inspiration. It's both inspired but also very critical of
Yeah,
kind of like the nostalgic view in the past, because it shows very much the flaws of kind of like that interwar era America.
yeah. The 1930s is really shown as kind of a shitty time, honestly.
Yeah, it's not even romanticized at all.
Yeah, like everything's dirty and grimy. People are not like that nice.
They capture it really well.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I also feel like there's a lot of interesting stuff here about like animal rights too in Congo 5,
Hmm.
which I find interesting. Like they make a very big deal about the fact that Kong's being mistreated here.
Hmm. God, he looks so miserable when he's on the stage, just like
Yeah,
absolutely like distraught. And it's kind of sad that like yeah, no, he dies in this unknown world that he knows nothing about.
You do
hmm
start to feel emotions, like when he's climbing that tower, and at the end when they say, "Well, he must have known he was going to die." It's like, well, he was confused. Like it feels. I do think if you compare it from what little I do remember of 33 is how, if you compare that to this, it's so interesting that in just under 100, like just under 100 years, like we've come from Kong is the monster. He is like a threat to modern civilization. He's a wonder, but like he's dangerous. And now it's Kong is represents our destruction of the
hmm
world. Like he is
hmm
innocent, and it is really sad. It's a really emotional ending. I must have cried at some point as a kid. I was crying at fucking Dark Knight Return Rises, so I must have cried at Kong. I must have.
hmm
It's a really strong ending. They dramatize it just well enough. There's some fuel for
Yeah.
top, but it works really well. Poor Kong's like, oh, he's fucking dying. What a man.
I know, right?
He should probably stop doing that. But yeah, that's a great scene. I agree.
King Kong doesn't even live in the movie titled King Kong Lives, so.
Yeah, but come on, man, come on, Kong. But
Oh wait, Crash. Before
I
we
was gonna
close
say because
out.
I want to bring up the final topic. Okay, so we're keeping up with the series. You know that Kong movies are really messy with the conventions about this. It's very confusing, not coming together. And this is the first Kong movie where they actually call the island Skull Island. And I
Yes.
love that because it's so fucking dramatic in the movie, and I'm like, hey, this for
Oh,
me.
when he types
Because
it
like,
in.
yeah, like that's like S K
S.
U L. They were like
Hell.
focusing so much on it. I was like, oh yes, this is exactly what I wanted. They dramaticized it so much. It's just Skull Island. But then at the same time,
They
never
don't
call
say
him
King Kong.
Yeah, they never call him King Kong, which is accurate with how it was in 33. So I assume it was intentional. Peter Jackson.
Yeah,
hostess
I
with
feel
it
like
written
it.
on.
I feel like it's a riff to that because they only have the cedar banner too.
Yeah, exactly. And so what that my conclusion is now that there's no King Kong movie where they call him King Kong, also called the Island Skull Island. Because I know in Skull
There
Island
isn't.
one, they don't call him King Kong because they're right. So
Yeah,
that's a really good thing to me because like those two names are so synonymous with like the world, but they've never been together in the same movie.
yeah.
To me. Also, shout out to Kong fucking like killing like 20 different fake Andros by the way.
Yeah.
So many fake ass. Just get eaten. It's hilarious.
Any blonde lady Kong picked up, looked at, and then fucking yeeted.
A lot of people die in that final rampage scene, and
Yeah.
I hold Jack partially responsible because when he gets in that taxi, he's driving.
I'm driving to the most
Yeah.
populated area.
It's like so weird. He's like, oh, I'll drive him. I'll pull him away from the violence. It's like, well,
Dude,
you
you live in
pulled
New
him
York,
into
bro.
more. Yeah, like what?
You gotta go.
What? It's just like he's driving on like the fucking pavement, and there's like people getting
He's
hit.
driving like the sidewalk and shit. Like, come on, Jack. Come on.
I like to think it's because he doesn't drive much because he's getting a cab everywhere. But
That's
then,
true.
but then he's like doing fucking dirt slide like drifts and shit. It's insane.
Yeah, the intense action will make you a skilled driver in any situation. I guess.
But yeah, I think that's a good place to end off on. Crash. Do you want to give us your closing thoughts of the movie?
Yeah, sure. So this is a really, really loving remake of 33. You can tell there's so much heart and passion from Peter Jackson into this, and it's probably one of the most engaging and interesting King Kong movies of all of them. I would absolutely recommend this one, especially if you love the original 33, or even if you've never seen a Kong movie. I think this is a really great place to start, and then go back a few times because it's kind of whatever. But it's a really great one, honestly. So I'd recommend easily.
Yeah. RF.
This is one of my favorite movies. It definitely helped to catapult my love for like storytelling and for like just world building to new heights. And I remember after this movie, I was starting to write and draw a lot more. So I have a lot to thank from this movie.
Ton.
Yeah, I love this one. It's probably one of my favorites that we watched so far outside 33. Comes highly recommended, especially the extended cut if you have the time. But the theatrical is really good too. Peter Jackson movies are always a fun time. You're gonna have fun watching this. And if you're someone who prefers more modern movies, you probably prefer this one over 33. So yeah, highly recommend it.
Dan.
Don't watch this ever. No, I'm joking. Everybody, I
Worst
think
movie of all time.
I practically begged Faye to come on this episode, so I would say 33. No, not 33. Congo 5 is it's a love letter. I feel like it's like probably if you have kids, it's probably like if they're like hitting like 10 something, I'd probably say this is a great film to like instill some wonder. It's a good like evening of fun with a lot of heart. It's not to rag on modern blockbusters because I hate doing that, but there is something missing today that this film had of like the early 2000s era of cinema where I don't know, like you could tell this film wasn't made for money. It wasn't made for a franchise. It was made because this was somebody's passion project, and it really shines. And I think that the effects are incredible. It's amazing. It's got a lot of heart. Got a lot of love. Sorry, I really rattled on then. It's great. Everybody watch it ever.
That's your homework for today. Watch the movie right now.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
But yeah, for me, this is my personal favorite King Kong movie. And I feel like it's one of my favorite Gen movies in general. It's numbered 12 on my personal list I have going, and that's because it's a really fantastic film. Great fleshing out of the monsters, incredible action. Like Dan was saying, this is Peter Jackson's passion project through and through. The human characters are nice and developed. It's definitely on the long end, so set aside your night for it. But as long as you're willing to go with it, you're gonna have a lot of fun with it. Get through the first hour, which I think people have to grow on at first sometimes. But once you reach like the monster stuff, you're really gonna enjoy it. All right, RF, where can people find you?
For now, just on Twitter on Prime Spinosaur. I literally just tweet my political opinions and occasionally say really stupid stuff.
Like all Twitter users.
But I'm actually hoping to use it eventually to plug in a project that my girlfriend and I are working on. We have to work on it more before I make any sort of announcement for it. But yeah, you can just find me there on Twitter. And actually, I don't have a YouTube channel or anything. I kind of just parasite off of Fear Futures and Fossils.
Yeah. But yeah, Dan, where can people find you?
Well, similar. I'm on Twitter at revisedan, and yeah, I post a lot of art on there, a lot of very shit hot takes, and I do have a YouTube channel, but it is currently a work in progress. But yeah, I'm working on some. It's the same name as Revised Dan for YouTube, and I'm working on a very long video series right now. So there is something coming. It's being taken up time with art projects and stuff, and yeah, that's literally all I am. I'm just a YouTube, a Twitter account which draws monsters.
All right, awesome. So once again, RF, Dan, thank you guys for coming on again.
Thank you for having me again. Yeah,
it's been a lot of fun. Next week we'll be having our final usual episode for Kong, which will be Kong Skull Island right before Godzilla vs. Kong comes out. We have quite a lot of stuff coming up, actually. We have the Easter special for Matra. We have the final Kong Roundtable roundup of all the Kong movies. And we're going to have a very special episode of Godzilla vs. Kong where RF will be back on for that, as well as Brookosaurus. So get hyped for that. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening, and have a good day.
Yep. Have a good day.